solitary boat, a mighty sea. An epic voyage into the teeth of the storm. The Jewel of Muscat is recreating a 1,200-year-old crossing. Its journey, a recipe for adventure.
Lower yard and snap!
Or disaster. There's an elemental force that dominates the skies above the Indian Ocean. The monsoon. A seasonal wind that can spawn massive cyclones with winds of 120 kilometers an hour and more. The monsoon brings life-giving rains to the region. But for sailors, the monsoon can also be the harbinger of death. Pitting herself against this mighty wind, a wooden boat just 18 meters long, the Jewel of Muscat. A combined crew of sailors, archaeologists and historians risk life and limb on a fantastic voyage. They will follow an ancient trade route over 5,000 kilometers linking Arabia, India and the Far East, their final destination, Singapore. The Jewel of Muscat was inspired by a wreck. In 1998, divers discovered the remains of a cargo ship dating back to the 9th century. It contained a fortune in ceramics and gold. The treasure was Chinese, but the ship itself seemed Arab. Ten years later, on a beach in Oman, work began on a reconstruction. Using an ancient technique, the entire vessel was sewn together with rope made from coconut fiber. The ship took a year to build. Quite simply, it's unique. Now, in a marina near Muscat, the capital of Oman, the crew makes final preparations for departure. The Jewel's captain, Salah Al-Jabri, has 25 years sailing experience.
From that time, I just pick up a lot of things as well. Feeling on board, feeling about the sea, smell the wind itself, direction of the wind. All these things coming rowing by time.
The first leg of the voyage will take a month. Once at sea, the Jewel will be on her own. So the crew is faced with the task of loading a long list of provisions. 3 tons of fresh water, 100 kilos of onions, 20 kilos of watermelons. But space is limited. It's down to the first mate to figure out the storage.
We have all the stores here for the food, for dry food here, down below. Eggs, oils, milk for tea. Okay, canned food, Omani bread, dates.
The voyage offers the historians and archaeologists on board a unique opportunity to step back in time.
We want to do a lot of scientific investigation, a lot that hasn't ever been done before. It really is a floating lab. We can experiment with life on board. You know, we'll try sleeping on deck like they did. We'll try eating the way they did and processing the materials and cooking the way they did, all that sort of thing.
Preparations are finally complete. The ship will leave in the morning.
Everybody ready, almost?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Ready for departure, inshallah, tomorrow? Inshallah. Excellent.
If all goes well, the crew will be away from family and loved ones for a period of months. But if things go wrong, they may never see their homes again.
And my children, they ask me, where you going, Mom? I said, I go to Singapore. They say, with what? I say, with the ship, how is this ship? I show him a picture about that ship. They said, I want to go with you. I said, unfortunately, I like to take you, but no chance for you now.
Even a veteran like Captain Salah is finding it tough to take his leave.
When you're doing your packing, and you know, as a sailor, it's you're going away. Maybe this is the last time you're doing this in your house, so you never know you come back to the home or to the family or not.
Salah had previously promised his family he wouldn't go to sea again.
After 5-6 voyages, you know, every voyage takes 6 to 7 months. It's a really tough life. And I said, that's it. I'm not do it again. But I've been thinking about it, and to finish my career and to finish to this maritime and heritage to Oman, we have someone of us in this country, in Oman, to do it.
Choosing the voyage over his family meant a painful conversation with his mother.
So in the end, Mom said yes, but you should keep very close to your God always, and we pray for you, and this is really last voyage for you.
The day of departure. Senior government ministers and members of the Omani royal family are on hand to wish bon voyage to the Jewel. The ship is a gift from the Sultan to the people of Singapore. Speeches are made, gifts exchanged. Time to go. No one has sailed a ship like this for centuries. The Jewel of Muscat will follow the ancient trade routes traveled by Arab seafarers over 1,000 years ago. Under tow, the Jewel soon leaves the cheering crowds behind her. More than 5,000 kilometers of open sea lie before her. The plan is to sail from Oman to Singapore in stages. The first leg to cross nearly 2,500 kilometers to the port of Cochin in Kerala, southern India. As the ship enters international waters, the wind picks up. Captain Salah gives the order. The mainsail goes up for the first time on the voyage. As in the 9th century, it's handmade from canvas. The mainsail is 81 square meters, half the size of a volleyball court, and, with the wooden spars that support it, weighs more than 150 kilos.
You haven't got only these heavy yards to bring it down and hoist it up. You really need muscles, very good, healthy people to hoist all the sail.
The second mast holds the mizzen sail. Mizzen in Arabic means balance. Smaller than the mainsail, the mizzen helps steer the ship. When a modern twin-masted ketch draws alongside her, the difference between ancient and modern sailing technology is obvious.
And the modern ketch, as you see now, is quite light, easy to hoist, need maybe 2 person, winches and all this system.
On the ketch, one man can do the work of 8 in a fraction of the time. The design may be ancient, but the Jewel performs like a thoroughbred.
We're driving 50 tons of the ship, plus people. That's incredible, really incredible. I'm very impressed myself, very impressed.
At a lab in the UK, Tom Vosmer puts the sails to the test. He's opted for a square rig, based on manuscript illustrations from the period. It's all he's got to go on.
We have no archaeological evidence of the rig. Even with what we knew from the structure of the ship from the wreck site itself, there's still a lot of unknown and a lot of understanding to come to. So this is an opportunity to learn to know what to expect from the ship and what not to expect, I suppose.
The wind tunnel shows how the sails perform. As the wind curves around the sail's leading edge, it creates lift that generates thrust to drive the boat forward. Harnessing the forces from the wind is the job of the helmsman.
Whatever who is staying in this position, he's always watching what's the wind doing and how much the sail is blowing in and out.
To find the wind, you have to spot a range of telltale signs.
We use a lot of things, the waves, the wind itself, maybe the flag, and all the hair sensitive in the back, so giving you a lot of directions.
But no matter how alert a sailor is, the wind can spring some unpleasant surprises. By the end of the first week, the crew settles into a routine. Living life 9th century style poses unique challenges. Conditions below are cramped. While on deck, simply getting from one end of the boat to the other requires some careful footwork.
First thing, watch your head so you don't crack it against the crossbeam here. And don't slip on the ropes, don't get your feet tangled up, there's nowhere else for them to go. Moving forward through the maze of ropes here, careful not to hit your legs on the sheer beam. Don't get hit by the lower yard of the mizzen mast. Under the beams, through here, and then we can move forward into to the bow section, past the main mast here. Again, we've got a sheer beam here. You have to watch the legs down here. And then we have this massive main mast yard that you have to be very, very careful of. So now we are in the bow section proper, negotiating the ropes and chains and galvanized steel anchors. This is perhaps the most dangerous section of the ship. It's most vulnerable because of the low height of the yard. So we always try to keep our heads as low as possible.
But 9th century living has pleasures as well as hazards.
This is from all from 9th century, all guys eat this.
Yeah, this is in our local language. Yeah, we call it gasha.
Dry fish.
So spicy, from chili like this. We mix it together.
Eaten, very special, good,
Very tasty.
very tasty.
On average, the crew gets just 2 meals a day, which they eat the traditional way. Shared platters and taken with the right hand. But the business of sailing doesn't stop for meal times. For thousands of years, sailors looked to the stars for directions. Now, historian Eric Staples and Captain Salah do the same.
Right above the clouds.
Salah uses an ancient Arab navigational tool called a kamal. The kamal measures the distance between known stars, like the North Star, and the horizon.
Every time I look at the horizon...
A knot in the string gives the navigator a position.
Maybe they not get it 100% right, but they really get the way where is their destination.
By experimenting with the kamal, Eric hopes to shed light on how the ancient Arabs made their way across the oceans.
So hopefully this can tell us. Yeah. I'm hoping to do this every night, so that we'll basically have the entire chart of latitudes and sort of positions for a kamal. Inshallah.
No, that's really good.
The monsoon that drives the Jewel actually comprises two winds that blow in different directions at different times of the year. The idea is to hitch a ride on one to catch the other. The trick is to reach the changeover spot on time. So far, the Jewel is on schedule.
Yesterday was one of the best sailing since we left, actually. From 10 o'clock to 10 o'clock, which is 92 nautical mile, which is not bad at all.
"20 days into the voyage, the Jewel of Muscat has sailed over 2,000 kilometers across the Indian Ocean. But the captain is worried. The ship is skirting the edge of a high-pressure area hundreds of kilometers across. In the center, the winds are light, variable, or even non-existent.
Can be just shifting area with different direction, but we try to avoid that as much as we can to go north, and from there we run down.
Salah gambles on using the winds on the edge of the weather system to take the Jewel through to the coast. The gamble fails. 10 degrees north of the equator, the Jewel is becalmed.
You lose 2 days in same place. Sometimes the wind's coming 6, 7 knots, 8 knots, and sometimes zero. Hi.
The onboard temperature climbs higher.
It's getting really hot. People getting really tired.
Below decks, a pungent smell of rotten eggs rises from the bilge. Hydrogen sulfide gas, a result of bacteria buildup in seawater trapped in the hold. 9th century methods come to the crew's aid. Frankincense doesn't get rid of the gas, but it does mask the smell.
أي حشرة موجودة داخل السكن نحاول نعدمها مثل البحباح لكن ريحته أحلى عن البحباح.
And the ship is creaking, and you can hear the swish of the water along the hull. And it's during moments like that that I feel that I have been transported back in time, that in a certain way this Jewel of Muscat is a time machine.
The Jewel has now been at sea for 3 weeks. There's still little sign of wind. With the schedule under threat, Captain Salah comes to a decision. To get the ship moving, they need help.
Indian Coast Guard, this is the Jewel of Muscat. Because of that, I took my decision to the ship.
The Jewel picks up a tow from the Indian Coast Guard. 24 hours later, 1 month after leaving Oman, she reaches the port of Cochin in India. Today, a bustling metropolis of 1.5 million, Cochin was once a major pit stop on the ancient east-west trading route. Spices, textiles and ceramics all passed through the port. The city's Arab heritage is still visible today. When the crew finally sets foot on dry land after 28 days at sea, they're overwhelmed by the reception.
Really very pleased, and I'm very surprised with this welcoming in Cochin.
Media, public, politicians, dignitaries, everyone wants a piece of the Jewel. Exhausted, Salah and crew bear it all with good grace.
Very happy. Yeah, very happy. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Jewel lies waiting. Luca Belfioretti, the project's construction site manager, and Tom Vosmer have flown from Oman and are anxious to give the ship a thorough service. A month at sea has taken its toll. The hull needs a makeover.
It's algae that's growing on there. Quite normal, and of course when we haul the boat out, much of that will be scraped off.
Bringing the Jewel ashore is a risky business. The plan is to drag her up a slipway out of the water.
Like this, and this is 3.5 meters. Our boat is 6.5 meters. Okay. So you will have another 1.5 meters in each side.
I can explain you. Please come with me.
The slipway operators generally handle great steel barges. They've never come across a boat like this before.
Bridge wooden block kept here.
But you know, our vessel cannot afford to have the wedge on touching, because we have the stitching coming out.
The site will need special preparation.
They would have to dredge their slipway before we could come up on it because there's so much gunk, and it was pretty disgusting actually. But they said they'd have to clean all that off, and I don't know how long that's going to take. We're basically 2 days behind schedule now.
Tom considers an alternative approach: dry dock. The idea is the ship will settle on these blocks as the water pumps out. But the dock is huge. The blocks are steel. It all seems a poor fit with a delicate 9th century boat.
There are too many unknowns about we can't see what's happening with the ship as the water's pumped out, and we can't see how it's going to settle onto the blocks. You know, we should be absolutely 100% sure that this is going to work, and we're not sure.
With time running out, there's little choice. They decide to go ahead. More than 5 million litres of water pour into the dock. For a nail-biting 90 minutes, the Jewel eases slowly in. The murky waters restrict visibility.
The boss wants to know the distance between the bottom of the keel and the keel block.
No idea. It's impossible to see.
At last, the Jewel comes to rest safely. Now, the Indian workers can start to scrape the hull off and apply tunum, a protective coating made of goat fat and lime.
This coating of chunam on the bottom isn't really an anti-fouling in the sense that it doesn't keep things from attaching. The only thing it really does is make the barnacles easier to scrape off.
With the refit complete, it's time to move on.
Outside.
But the whole episode has cost them vital time. As they leave Cochin later than planned, the crew wonders what the wind might now have in store for them. The second leg of the voyage is a short 600-kilometre hop to Galle in Sri Lanka. But 4 days out, off the coast of southern India, a sudden squall takes the crew by surprise. A loud crack. Something is wrong. Inspection reveals a split running halfway round the main mast. When the squall subsides, the crew improvises a makeshift splint to get them to Sri Lanka. On arrival in Galle, a decision is made. As a safety measure, both masts will be replaced. Luca Belfioretti leads a team on an arduous search of the teak forests of Sri Lanka. They have to find 2 suitable trees, each one straight and at least 17 meters long. With the toughest leg of the voyage still to come, second best is not good enough.
The jewel of Muscat is the best swim boat ever built, so I really don't want to say, okay, this is good enough. I want 2 great trees.
After making an uncomfortable 3-week trek, he thinks he's finally found the right trees.
One is perfect. I mean, I never saw such a beautiful trees in my life.
The Jewel finally can get a pair of brand new masts. Repaired and provisioned, she is now ready to set out on the 2,200-kilometre leg to Penang Island in Malaysia. The Jewel is now 3 months into her voyage. The delays mean she's setting sail in the most unpredictable part of the monsoon. The captain knows the risks.
This will be most dangerous and difficult passage because of the rain, of the weather condition. It's been changeable around this area, and the monsoon started already almost 10 days ago.
The mood is somber. The crew bid farewell to Galle like soldiers on the eve of battle. Once at sea, the wind lifts the ocean's swell to 4 and then 5 meters. The ship is broad across the middle. She's designed to carry cargo. In heavy seas, she pitches and rolls like an old tub. Constant squalls sweep in with little or no warning.
We had squall after squall, tremendous strong wind. Yesterday or before yesterday, we had very strong wind, reached 30, 37.
The crew raises and lowers the sails many times a day. No easy task on slippery wooden decks.
The sails, you have to really hard, strong body, especially in this weather, to hoist them and to bring them down.
Over the next 3 days, the wind and rain get worse. The Jewel is blown east, but is making good speed.
Yeah, we just reached 8.6 knot speed on one sail as well.
Then, disturbing news reaches Tom Vosmer from the harbour master in Sri Lanka.
It came through from Captain Rohith about a cyclone forming in the Bay of Bengal, and I went right to the computer and called that up and said, uh-oh.
A fast-developing tropical storm is heading the Jewel's way. Over 400 kilometers from the nearest land, Captain Salah has no choice but to carry on. The wind speed continues to increase.
New record is really, we touch 10 knots. And if you
Under difficult conditions, it's impossible to cook. The tired crew have had no hot food for days.
Slice of onion, tomato, and a bread. So this is really our dinner tonight. I haven't got anything special since early morning.
Soon after their frugal supper, the edge of Cyclone Layla strikes the ship. The wind gets stronger, whipping the waves up and battering the tiny wooden vessel, as gusts increase to 40 and then 45 knots. Salah faces a choice. If he leaves the single sail up, he risks breaking the mast. But if he lowers the sail, the ship may turn sideways on to the violent storm and capsize.
It's just going, shifting to the wave and to the wind, which is quite dangerous.
Salah puts his faith in the new mast and keeps the sail up. He decides to run before the wind, which is now blowing at 52 knots, close to 100 kilometers per hour. This time, his gamble pays off.
I need to dry a little bit. I'm completely wet, even with this.
Everyone is happy to see the morning. But the ship has not gone unscathed. The level of water in the bilges is rising. Crew member Alessandro Guidoni crawls into the bowels of the ship to find out why. He makes a worrying find. All over the hull, seams are slowly leaking. The violent weather has loosened the stitching that holds the hull planking together.
Because of the rough sea, the boat is
the ship is rolling quite heavily, and that is, because the hull is flexible, that means that in some parts you can have some gaps because of the pressure of the water itself.
It all adds to the workload of the crew. They take turns pumping thousands of litres of water to keep the sea at bay. Now, in light winds, maintaining speed is more difficult. On voyages like this, Arab traders stood to make a fortune. Keeping the boat moving was critical. The conditions provide a chance to put ancient sail technology to the test. Sails woven from palm leaves. Maybe palm sails will be more effective than canvas in light winds. Apparently not.
And so far it looks like it's good, but doesn't push us very much, to be honest. Doesn't make any difference in speed. Before we set it was 2 knots, 2.5, and still the speed as it is.
But the light winds soon pass. "14 days out from Gaul, dark clouds gather once again.
We're expecting a thunderstorm to hit us. Looks like with some rain as well, bring it with it. So yeah, you can see very strong lightning as well. So everybody getting ready with the life jackets and waterproof stuff.
Ship's carpenter Pushpadas El-Masri is on lookout in the prow of the ship. When the squall hits, it's short but violent. Captain Salah orders the mainsail lowered. One of the 100-kilo wooden spars has snapped. And there's a man down.
Pushpa's been hit in the head. I'm going down.
Pushpadas has missed death by inches.
Pushpa had just sat down at the bow, just a split second early, fortunately, and so the yard gave him a glancing blow on the back of the head. It could have been much more serious if he had not sat down.
Amazingly, the next day, he's back on his feet.
Pain, too much pain, and coming a bubble like a cricket ball. I'm very lucky, I think.
As the coast of Malaysia appears, the Jule's struggle to cross the Bay of Bengal is over. But the crew are aware this is no time to relax. After a 3-week stopover in Penang Island, the voyage resumes. The Jewel of Muscat passes the Fairway buoy on the last leg of her journey to Singapore. The crew now faces a very different danger from the storms of the Indian Ocean.
Okay, guys?
Captain Salah urges vigilance.
This is the most important legs because a lot of shipping, a lot of fishing boat. So to keep the ship Jewel safe and sound, please, please, please keep looking out as much as you can. No sleep in the watch at all.
The Jewel will pass through the narrow Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. With no engine, the little wooden ship is vulnerable to collision, especially in light winds. Immediately, the danger is apparent. A tug and barge come close to the slow-moving Jewel.
It is really close, and 2-3 cables from the ship, and that's really frightening as well.
First mate Kamis constantly checks the bearing to determine whether or not the two ships are closing. But the danger's not over. Fishing boats, tankers and container ships race up and down the strait, narrowly avoiding the Jewel. Over 60,000 vessels use the strait every year. At night, the strait comes alive with moving lights. With the shore on one side and the shipping lane on the other, there's little room for maneuver.
160.
The Jewel's last line of defense, a flashing light mounted on the bow.
It's never ever seen something like that, a traffic of the ships, tugs, small fishing boats, nuts all over the places. So I'm sure a lot of people being really tired, naked, and ready to go to some nice warm place.
As the Jewel approaches Singapore, it becomes another blip on the port controller's radar.
The Jewel of Muscat, this Singapore VTI West. Do you read me over?
And then the words they have waited 5 months to hear.
Welcome to Singapore, sir.
Not quite home, but the Jewel is safe at last.
Now maybe five months. Inshallah, in Rapid Numan, I take a nice rest.
For me, it's last time to sailing because I know I'm never get again same this ship. It is magic.
These are the last moments of the Jewel at sea.
It's incredible to think, and sad to think as well, this is the last time this boat will sail.
She's to become the centerpiece of a permanent exhibition on Arab seafaring in Singapore. After crossing more than 5,000 kilometers of ocean, the Jewel enters Keppel Harbour.
And I'm very proud to be captain of this, and alhamdulillah, we made it.
A year in the building. The only ship of its kind afloat. A triumph of archaeology in action. At last, the crew can celebrate. The President of Singapore accepts the Sultan's gift. Now captain and crew can return to their families.